According to the Jewish tradition, we have to read the first part of the Bible, the Torah, called in English Pentateuch. We have to read it every year. Why do we read the same text all over again? Well, if you think that this is the Word of God, it must have infinite meaning. It has different layers of meaning. And every time that you read it, you discover something different. And maybe there's something else also. When you read something, it is really a dialogue between the written text and you who is reading it. While the written text remains the same, we change. Every year we have new experiences. So that when I read it this year, I am reading it with different eyes, with different memories, with a different intellect even from what I had last year. So it is very appropriate to do so. But our rabbis say that according to the Torah itself, there is an obligation of reading one paragraph yearly. Which paragraph is that? It comes from Deuteronomy. It says, remember what Amalek, that was people, the Amalekites, did to you when you went out of Egypt. When the Jews left Egypt and broke the chains of slavery, they were attacked by the Amalekites. Why were they attacked by the Amalekites? Actually, the Hebrews didn't want anything from them, didn't want to conquer them. The Hebrews were going toward the promised land, and they were in the desert. But apparently the Amalekites had some resentment against the Jew, against the Hebrews. Why? Well, I have thought in the past that maybe because the Hebrews were breaking the not natural order of the world at that time. There were those that owned slaves and there were slaves. Either you were a slave or a free man. And the Hebrews came and said, this business of being a slave is not an eternal condition. You can get out of it. They got out of Egypt of being slaves. And maybe the Amalekites felt that somehow broke a social contract that there was between those that owned the slaves and the slaves that had to work. Maybe that is so. I don't know why it is so. But in any event, I have always questioned myself. If you're going to say, read a paragraph from the Bible every year, it must be very important. I would say read the Ten Commandments. That symbolizes, synthesizes many things. The entire Western world has somehow adopted that as a Carta Magna, the Ten Commandments. Or maybe read the paragraph that says, hear, O Israel, there's only one God. At a time when there was idolatry, worship of sun, moon, and God knows what, the Judaism came and said, there's only one God responsible for everything, for the good and bad, everything that happens in this world. He is responsible for it. Very important concept, because it implies also that there is law and order in the universe. There are many ramifications. I don't want to get into that. But they chose something else. Maybe they felt, that the most important thing is to be alive. There's always somebody that tries to destroy the Hebrews, the Jewish people. So therefore, to stay alive is the most important thing, because you cannot fulfill anything else if you're not alive. And then it says something in that paragraph. You have to erase the memory of the Amalekites. Well, if I did that last year already, what am I doing this year? There are no more Amalekites. I already erased that. So our rabbis say that due to wars, to migrations and what have you, there is no way of identifying Amalekites today. So what are we to do? Well, in a sense, it's telling us that the enmity, the hate, doesn't have a proper name today. It is part of society somehow. Why is it part of society? Maybe we need someone whom to blame. Someone who is really the cause of all our problems. In the Middle Ages, there was a black plague. There were all sorts of plague. We had, COVID-19 not too long ago. So what is the cause of it? Well, they didn't know in the Middle Ages. But since they didn't know, somehow they said, must be some malicious force This is the Jewish people. They are the weakest. They are really responsible for it. In a sense, you're looking for someone to blame for your own inefficiencies when you're faced with a problem that you don't know how to solve. So you look for some kind of solution. In the meantime, you find that the Jewish people may be at fault. Maybe that is the reason why there is hate. Maybe there's something else. I always felt there's a lot of envy toward the Jewish people. You know, I think that over 20% of the recipients of Nobel Prizes were Jews. And what is the percentage of Jews in the world? I think 0.2%, something like that. An infinite amount. I argued on another opportunity that the number of Jews in the world is really the same as the statistical error when you do a census of the population of China. 15, 16 million, just like that. That's what the Jews in the world are. Maybe it's envy of the Jew. How is it that they have accomplished so much being so few? Maybe it is the fact that they have to face so much hate, enmity in the world. And you can do either of two things. Maybe there are many more, but I want to consider two. Either you blame an external force, or else you blame yourself. Start saying so. Either the help will come from outside or the help will come from inside. In the case of the Jewish people, help does not come from the outside. So the Jewish people have to become stronger. They have to become fortified, invigorated, so that they can answer these attacks. Well, for a couple of thousand years, the Jewish people couldn't do much. They were all over the world in small numbers in different places, had no army, had no means really of reacting in front of them. But nowadays there's a state of Israel. The state of Israel has demonstrated that it will react if there's any enmity shown particularly against Jews any part of the world. So ask yourself also, each and every one of us has to face difficulties. We try to resolve them, but many a time we come to face a problem, we don't know how to do it. So stop looking for others. Stop looking for blame to be placed in an external force. Think to yourself, what can you do to overcome it? In the beginning, you may not have a response, you may not have an answer to it, but if you keep on trying and trying, you will see that adversity really makes you stronger, makes you capable of facing many difficulties in life. Think about it. It merits a little thought.